Welcome back to the St. Louis Cardinals franchise, everybody. Last episode, we spent a lot of time talking about the top AA prospects, and today we're going to open at AAA with number 1 pick in the entire series, Steve Castilla. I played a full game down at the AAA level and have some highlights I'd like to share with you. We were taking on the Iron Pigs of the Phillies organization and pitcher Mick Abel. We have a few players that have been sent down from the big league club lately, so Norris Sullivan ends up striking out on a fastball that is blown by him. But the big focus of this game for me was Steve Castilla, the number 3 prospect in the organization and number 29 in all of baseball. Castilla is only 19 years old, and he is getting very close to being big league ready. I feel like he's still a couple years away when you factor in that we have a very good pitching staff at the moment. But Castilla was the very first pick we made in this series. He has a very high ceiling with 87 potential. Here with a bunt put down, nice play by third baseman Elvis Martinez. And then for some reason they thought, let's try to bunt again, but that didn't work. Crawford falls behind, and in there with a changeup, it's strike 3. Chris Rotundo has returned to AAA, and I had no idea Mick Abel was this nasty. Early in the game, he was shutting us down. Elvis Martinez hitting with 2 away, gets a good slider to hit, but sends it to short, and he is retired. Nothing through 4, not even a hit for Memphis. So we go bottom 4, and there is the splitter of Castilla. He throws a splitter and slider as the 2 best pitches off of his lower 90s fastball that tops out around 94. And I was impressed at how he commanded those off-speed pitches. A lot of the minor league players will struggle with their location, and they walk a lot of guys. And Castilla's not a guy who's just going to rely on his fastball, so the off-speed has to be usable. In the 5th inning, check this out. Mick Abel will throw at you a mid-90s fastball and then complement that with a 78-mile-per-hour curve. Then he throws this slow-motion changeup at 71. This is one of the nastiest fastball changeup combinations I've seen from anybody in this game. Meanwhile, Castilla keeps racking up the strikeouts. Good fastball there on the outer edge. We're in the 6th inning. We don't have a hit. We're just waiting for Abel to lose his command and just walk us. It's so much easier that way. So Will Brennan draws a walk, and so does Norris Sullivan. Looking like it could be the end of the road today for Abel. Next up, Chris Rotundo. Line drive and our first hit of this game. First hit, first run, Memphis is on the board. And that would be it for Mick Abel's day. Never did solve his fastball going in the mid-90s to a changeup that can go under 70. So we move on. Cade Povich enters, and he promptly walks Elvis Martinez. That pitch is just a bit outside. So the bases are juiced for Joey Loperfido. Ground ball finds its way into left field, and 1 run scores. Behind him is a sliding Rotundo, and 3-0 Memphis. Christian Pache has played well this year. In the 7th inning, he lines one into center. It looks like a hit, but it's taken away. A fantastic diving catch. And that's one of their more impressive prospects, Justin Crawford, the 22-year-old center fielder. Bottom of the 7th, Castilla still going strong, but this pitch is ripped past Josh Baez and reaches the wall. A leadoff double in the 7th, but I wanted to see Castilla try to pitch out of this. He gets the first out with a changeup at the knees. And 2 batters later, Carson Kelly waving at the slider, strike 3. I believe the slider is Castilla's best pitch. In the 8th inning, the splitter is crushed to dead center, and when the 9-hitter hits 105 off the bat for a 400-plus foot home run, that's enough for the day. Only gives up 1 run. and he was very unhappy with this. You can see it in his facial expressions, but he has to leave the game for Ryan Fernandez, who has had an up and down year, but comes in to strike out Justin Crawford. Fernandez not quite pitching well enough to warrant a return to the bigs, but does end up with a solid inning, sending us to the ninth, where Adam Kloffenstein is able to show us what he can do as a closer. This has been an experiment of mine this year. I wanted to see him get this chance, and he's thrived. Gets the strikeout of Franklin for out number 1. Kloffenstein is 25 years old and a 60 overall. I do think there's a chance of him joining the big league club within the next season. I don't think it would be in a closing role, but I think he could be a solid middle relief pitcher. And he gets strikeout number 2 of Miller. And that brings up Wilson with a man on, and he singles into left field. The tying run is on for the Iron Pigs. Carson Kelly is next. Kloffenstein has a fastball in the low-mid 90s. Then has the changeup at 82. That's strike 2. And a pop-up of Carson Kelly. That is your ball game. The Memphis Redbirds win it. And what a spectacular game for Steve Castilla. He goes 7 1/3, getting his 10th win, and struck out 11, walking nobody. All of his strikeouts came on off-speed pitches. I think he's going to always be a pitcher that leans heavily on those, mainly the slider and splitter, and I'm excited to see him continue to develop. He's got a chance to be a star. Not a bad way to get things started today, and if you're enjoying the Cardinals franchise, I'd appreciate it if you left a like on the video, and if you haven't already, subscribe for much more Cardinals franchise and MLB The Show content, as well as College Football 25. That is not far from now. Anyway, we have some things to talk about today. We should be able to see the ratings for our draft picks, but the trade deadline is coming up. And I've been thinking more about, should we be a little more aggressive? I know it's easy for me to kind of play it safe and stick with the team, more or less. I like the players I bring in, and sometimes I'm hesitant to do a big trade. But when the offense is in a rut, there are a couple players that are underperforming, and other teams are doing deals to get better. It's hard to stand pat. Last year, I had a setting, I don't know if it was wrong or something, but there weren't any trades happening anywhere. That is not the case this season. A lot of trades have been made. Some major, some minor, the vast majority. Probably not even great deals, but, we just kind of let things play out. One of my favorite targets that I was looking into, I believe last episode, has already been acquired. The Minnesota Twins made the move of acquiring Kerry Carpenter from the Detroit Tigers. Carpenter is 28, has a couple years left of team control, and he's been very good in this franchise, hitting 30, 29, and so far 10 home runs this season. Now, it is a bit of a down year, so maybe the trade wasn't as expensive as it would have been last year, but the Twins are already buying low on Carpenter. Minnesota also made the move of acquiring Brandon Nimmo from the Mets, giving them a high on base, high average guy who is mashing this season. The Mets weren't done selling, though. They managed to help out the Cubs by trading them closer Edwin Diaz. And the Cubs also went to add Shea Langoliers from the A's. The Reds added Francisco Lindor to an infield that already has Elly De La Cruz. These aren't trade acquisitions, but we've talked about in this series how much better the Pirates have gotten, adding Juan Soto, Blake Snell, and Pete Alonso. And then you've got the Brewers, who have been quieter, but they already have a ring in this series. So, what are we going to do? Let me show you what I have in mind. I think it's time for our first big trade of the series, and I'm targeting White Sox center fielder Luis Robert Jr. He's 28 years old, and he is an absolute superstar when his game is on. However, in this series, we've seen Robert take a noticeable step back. His on-base numbers have fallen. His OPS is nowhere near his career high. And for the last 3 years, he's been a different caliber of player. But I still think that with a new home, Luis Robert could be a superstar once again. And he's still a very good player with a lot of power, but it's time for him to move on from Chicago. Luis Robert has this year and next under contract before he has a chance at a very big payday in 2028. If we're to try to maximize what we can do this year and next, I think this move gets us significantly better without paying the typical money you would for a player with these skills. And I am looking to give up a haul here that I think is reasonable for the White Sox. I know that if Robert is traded in real life, he might fetch a lot of high-ranked prospects. But I wanted to do something that could at least benefit the White Sox. And the big part of this trade will be Tekoa Roby. We have more pitchers than spots to play pitchers at the bigs. It's time to look at who we want to build around, who we think can be moved. I like Roby, but I think that if you're going to get a player like Robert, you got to give up somebody good. Roby has 85 potential, and he could join their rotation immediately. I also think they're the type of team that would have a lot of value in a player like Chris Rotundo, somebody that they could afford to play and develop and just see what can happen. He's a player with 90 potential, but he's 26. He needs the big league playing time now, and honestly, we just are not the place for him to reach that potential. And then left fielder Josh Baez has lower potential, but I think could at least be a decent starter, a bench outfielder. He's only 22 and has 70 overall. And we have made the trade. And Luis Robert is a St. Louis Cardinal. This is our answer to the teams around us getting stronger and trying to fight for the top of this division. We had to get more serious about it. Adding Dylan Cease was nice, but how about 2 former White Sox? My plan is to play Luis Robert in left field. I still love the superior range of Victor Scott in center. And what this helps is give us a righty that can hopefully be an upgrade over Lane Thomas. Robert kind of has a souped-up version of Thomas's offensive skill set. They're both similar in that they can hit lefties really well but struggle more against righties. But Robert still has the power against righties that Lane Thomas lacks, and Thomas just does not have this kind of a ceiling. I'm sure many of you expected a reliever trade, but how about the addition of Luis Robert for us? But I still think there's room for a reliever. We have a few days to decide if we're going to do something with the bullpen. It's been a shaky unit this year. We're giving up a lot of home runs, and our closer, a lot of you seem to think that Ryan Helsley's just cooked and I should move on from him. I'm not prepared to make that kind of decision after, a bad handful of games so far, but this does have to concern you for the long haul if this doesn't get fixed. The walks and home runs can't both be up like this with a 1.5 whip. We still have a few days to make a decision. But right now, we got a game against the Pittsburgh Pirates. And we're going to be sending Thomas Sujazi back to AAA. We actually have a few things we have to balance after trading away a couple prospects as well. And the first game for Luis Robert in a Cardinal uniform will be against Paul Skeens and the Pittsburgh Pirates. And here it is, everybody, the debut. And a runner on first base. Skeens misses low with the slider. Pirates are holding on to that third wild card spot right now. They're 56 and 52. Good changeup from Skeens. And now with the fastball for the first time. That one at 98. That's off the plate, and the count is full. Inside, and Robert's first appearance is a walk. So we've got another big righty bat. We've had Walker, Arenado, and Contreras all be middle-of-the-lineup mashers in this series. What do you think about the depth of this team now as Arenado hits one out to left center, but it's run down? I've been really caught in this series between trying to build my own championship core and trying to add on to what's already here. The existing core has just played so well as Jordan Walker drives home the first run. And with the position we're in, with some of the prospects we have, it's pretty easy to part ways with some of these pitchers and look at being able to make a move like this. And that hits him. Skeens is losing his composure. Give me a grand slam off Skeens. No, not right now? Okay. So what does this mean then for Lane Thomas? Do we just have like a well-paid backup outfielder? At this point, I think I've already made the call to move on. We might have another trade coming up. O'Neal Cruz in the third, and that one is hit towards Robert, a routine catch. Robert has good speed out here in left, maybe not quite as good as Lane Thomas, but we're not worried about 10 points worth of speed. He has a very strong arm, is very good in the field, and if his offensive numbers turn around, we might have the ultimate difference maker for this team. Second at bat for Robert in the third. That's a little bit late and driven out to deep right and caught. We couldn't just let the Pirates add Juan Soto and not have a big move for our offense too. We got some more runs, and Robert will hit against Roansy Contreras as we go bottom of the fourth. There's a runner at second. That's going to left field. Robert's first Cardinals hit. And he'll hold at first with an RBI single. Meanwhile, you got Nasty Nestor just continuing to put up good outing, one after another. Juan Soto to opposite field, and Robert is there for the catch. That's hit pretty well, and Robert can show off the range again in left. Nothing's fallen here in this outfield. Well, nothing to talk about with the bullpen today because Cortez gave them all the day off, and the Cardinals are victorious. Nice division win for us against the Pirates. And the Guardians are acquiring Stone Garrett. He was the top-ranked player on the trade block, and I did consider him, but instead I traded for Luis Robert. Oh, and now we get the update. In case you didn't notice, we also made a trade. We got to get these cold streaks, though, over with. Like, this slump, I'm not a fan of it. So we're going to continue on with these player lock games with Robert, getting a feel for him with the Cardinals. And we already got some defense to play against Jared Triolo. Tink Hence has had a brilliant year trying to put together another good start and a sweep of the Buccos. Caught by Robert. Got one right down the middle, I guess a tad late. Count is 2-2 on Robert. That's going to left field on a line and caught. Come on, give us something more challenging this time. Sowinski. Ooh, that one is actually tough. Well played. Couple of singles, and they do tack on a couple in that inning. Pittsburgh on top. But now Robert hits with 2 on and 2 down. Turned on into left field, a base hit. They'll wave the runner home, and he will score. And Robert has a pair of RBI singles in the first 2 games with the Cards. We're into the bullpen now, and it's a 2-1 Pittsburgh lead. Jojo Romero gives up the sharp single into left field, putting 2 on for the Pirates. Strikeout, fielder's choice, and out of the jam. No problem. Can Luis Robert help us close this 1-run gap now? Take the low change. Base hit center field, and you're lucky it's only a single. 3-0 count to Nolan. And Herman misses inside. We have the first 2 on. All right, let's see if we can get some of those cold streaks taken care of here. Jordan Walker looking for a big hit. He's up 3-0. Back-to-back walks, and they are loaded for Wilson Contreras. 58 RBIs. Let's see if we can get him to 60 here. 3-1. That is 3 straight walks after the Robert single. So tie game, followed by a sac fly, another walk, and a lead for St. Louis. And now facing a lefty and Bailey Falter. We're bottom 7. Into left field again. It's been all singles so far. We'll take it. And now Nolan softly. That's going to die in center. We're going third. I want to get better at getting this extra base. 4-2 St. Louis. And now Jordan Walker. He's got one sharply hit to third. And unfortunately, sharp enough to lead to a double play. Ryan Helsley, 1-2-3, that is a save. Cardinals sweep the Buccos. We've reached the trade deadline on July 31st. There are trades even going down to the deadline here. Yuki Matsui to the Braves. Stone Garrett to the Guardians, we saw that. And then I know Jason Waller, he's supposed to be one of the better prospects from this series. Isn't he the Aaron Don comp? And then we even had Spencer Torkelson going to the Astros. Yeah, the Guardians just got Jason Waller, and I think they're going to have him just be their new starting center fielder. All right, then. Mason Wynn's numbers are tumbling. 253. This is a guy who was hitting over 300 for much of the year, but now getting more playing time. Numbers are slipping. Realistically, I don't think Wynn is ready, especially on a team trying to win now. I'm okay with him being on the bench. Tommy can play short. We know he's capable of having very good seasons there. But it does seem that after his hot start that he's cooled off significantly, and his numbers are right in line with last year, with a few extra homers from his hot first couple months. But I do think there's still a move we can look to make. The Cardinals are now acquiring reliever Mason Miller from the Oakland Athletics. I'm giving them a fair bit back in this return. Like, they would do the deal for a lot less, but I want to make my deals a little more reasonable, and I'm willing to trade them Lane Thomas, who can start. He's on a cheap 3-year deal. He might be a useful player for them, maybe even somebody they could look to flip. But then also, there's just no path to playing time here for Cooper Jerpy. Even in the bullpen, we already have like 4 lefties at the majors. Jerpy could join their starting rotation today. So that's our deal. We're adding Mason Miller, and we're looking to have him show he can be One of those high leverage relievers. If things go wrong with Helsley, maybe he could even become our closer. But this year especially, Mason Miller has pitched at a very high level. 2.7 ERA, 10 on the dot, strikeout per 9. That's our last move pre-deadline. That means someone's losing their spot. It's going to be Zach Thompson. Worst FIP on the active roster with a walk and home run rate that are simply too high. And welcome back, Thomas Ujezi. I need somebody who can back up first and third. That means it's time to face Shohei Ohtani. Brendan Donovan led off with a solo homer, and now Robert will face Ohtani. Already 4 singles as a Cardinal in 2 games with a walk. Well, that's by him at 98. Ooh, that was one I'd like to have back. I'm seeing that the Dodgers have just moved into a tie in first place with the Diamondbacks. Pretty impressive. It's late July and they're just now getting there. I'm expecting they'll end up winning that division, as they usually do. We've brought this count back to full. And the fastball gets strike 3. Nolan Gorman hits a 2-run homer, and it's 3-0. Robert singled again in his first simulated at-bat. Walker doubles home Nootbaar, and they have to go to their bullpen already in the 3rd inning. Gorman promptly welcomes Gavin Stone with a home run. The primary bench outfielder now is Joe Adell. He's getting the start today because they made me feel bad for him in the beginning of the game, saying that, oh, Joe Adell hasn't played for a while. He's getting impatient. So he's starting over Victor Scott tonight. Adell had a great year at AAA, and he's earned the chance to come back and show what he can do. Unfortunately, if I want to send him down again, I'm going to have to pass him through waivers, and I won't have the chance to even trade because we're about to pass the trade deadline. So ideally, Adell would be on the active roster until the end of the year. If he can just hold on through August, then the rosters expand. It's easier to at least keep him there. But now that he's like a 70, I think somebody would claim him if waived. Stop challenging me up and in. I can't hit it. Strike 3. Walker home run. Big day for the offense. And meanwhile, you've had Dylan Cease up to his usual stuff. 8-0. 58 pitches in. We're in the 6th against the Dodgers. Freddie Freeman looks at a strike. Got him 0-2. And looking at strike 3. And that's 8 strikeouts. Lazy fly ball into right field, and that's Lars. And that just leaves Shohei. You know, that's kind of interesting. Like, if Shohei has a bad pitching outing, like, it's not like regular pitchers where, okay, you go into the dugout now and you get to think about it for 4 days. No, just you're staying in the game. You got to keep hitting. And by the way, we're relying on you to be our best player. So, just an interesting dynamic only he would know about. Joe Adell pops back a fastball. Come on. Sharply hit, but picked up at third. Adell is retired. Trying to go 7 innings is Dylan Cease. It's Nick Castellanos. Strike 1. Pitch counts in a great spot, and 0-2. Popped him up. And in less than 80 pitches, Cease goes 7. And we got Robert leading off the home half of the 7th. A drive to center, slicing off the glove, and Robert will make the late break. I guess he only hit singles. Here is Jordan Walker, a homer and double tonight, hitting .243, 740 OPS on the season. Adding Robert means we're okay if guys like Walker never go back to that top form they showed. Maybe that's their best year, but their baseline is a notch or two lower. Still like where Walker is. But now this kind of leaves him in a spot where it's unlikely he'll return to the outfield unless Victor Scott's role changes, in which case Robert would revert to center. But I'm trying to think about just the roster a year or two out. Obviously, Nolan's one of those dominoes that's going to fall given his age and contract. I'm not sure yet about third base even 2 years from now, but I guess as a win now team, I don't have to care. Bouncer to third base. And the inning is over. Dylan Cease is coming out for the 8th inning. 79 pitches in. Phillies lead the East. Their lead is cut to 3 games at the moment. We're up by 5 over the Cubs. We've had different portions of the year where there has been a new number 1 contender in second place, but they have not been able to overtake us. After choking away the division last year, I'm glad we've gotten more serious about trying to hold on to our strong start this time. Big swing. He's out in front of it. Tommy Edmonds going to handle that one on the backhand. Dropped into Westberg. We're about to hit 90 pitches on the night. Big cut, but like the other pitches he's thrown, untouchable. Having trouble putting away Westberg in this 7-pitch battle. We're going back to that changeup. And that's strike 3. You know, the lineup's in a good spot when Nolan Gorman's hitting 7th. Fly to right, but that sounded horrible. Tommy now got a changeup to hit, and that's not even going to stay fair. All right, I guess Dylan Cease is going for a complete game. Might have to cross 100 pitches to do it. He does have 1 complete game shutout on the year. But doing it against the Dodgers would be a little different, I think. 0-2. And inside. 100 plus now as a guarantee as that misses under the zone. Right field, Nootbaar traveling. He makes the catch. What a play. I thought that was over his head for sure. Pitch 101. It's Gavin Lux. Changeup is in there. So we're guaranteed to see Ohtani one last time, and the shutout could be on the line unless Lux hits a solo homer. He will not be doing that tonight. 2 gone. All right, Shohei. Here's the ultimate battle. The final boss for the complete game shutout. And Ohtani barely taps it, but it is going to be close. And Donovan keeps it to the bag. We do not get a look at Mason Miller because Dylan Cease was too good. That is a 2-hit complete game shutout against what's supposed to be the best team in baseball. Heck of a stretch here. We are undefeated since adding Luis Roberts, and we're looking good. And we're about to wrap up July. That is it. We close on a 5-game winning streak. The following day, the Dodgers end our streak with a 4-0 win. Now we get shut out by Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Mason Miller did get his first few innings, though, and had a scoreless 11-out performance with 7 strikeouts. That's insane. Yep, Kopech just got smoked by Mookie Betts for a home run, then a walk, error. Yep, Kopech is no longer looking very good this year. Here's Anthony Bender, one of 2 pitchers we've traded for this year. Bases juiced for Gavin Lux. It's already 4-0 as the Dodgers are hoping to take this series.
1-1.
And that one is popped up for Tommy Edman. We can't get shut out on back-to-back days. Bobby Miller is going for a shutout, and he's got the energy to do it. Wow. His energy was still in the green. Like it's barely over half. And he's throwing 101 in the 8th inning. I'm sorry, 102 in the 8th inning. This guy's a machine. Strike 3. Joe Adell, right field. You bet that's getting down for a base hit. And now Thomas Sujazi. So we emptied the bench today. Got it.
That's a ball.
Oh, wow. Victor Scott just had an 0 for 17. So he's had a couple bad stretches. Runner goes. Oh, he's out by a mile. He's got like 97 speed. How do you have 10 steal with that kind of speed? I don't even get it. So Victor Scott is hitting .245 with 34 stolen bases on the year. And we are bottom 9. It looks like Miller is going to get a win. And a shutout now is moments away. And that's in the air, center field, and playable. Somehow, every game in this series featured a complete game shutout. How many times in MLB history has that happened? 3 games, each one of them featured one team winning via complete game shutout. That is wild. 64-49 is our record at the moment. We have a few players who have been struggling, a few players who have been thriving, like Nolan Gorman. Seems our power numbers have dipped. I want to see where those are now. I know batting average was going down, and that is now not even top 20. So are we making up for it some way? We're 11th in runs scored. We're 2nd from the bottom in doubles this year. And home runs, we've dropped from tied for 5th down to 7th. So there is something missing right now. Team ERA, that's still in a great spot. Last episode, we went through the 3rd draft in the series, and we'll end today with a brief look at the newest players in our organization. Donald Galvin was the 1st round pick. He only has 76 potential, but the rest of the class, 93, 90, 89, 86. Let's talk about these guys. So Galvin was my pick because I liked the potential range at like 71 to 86. It lands a lot lower than I was hoping. And it showed that he might have the upside to have very good, like, well-rounded numbers, but it seems that he's already about at his ceiling. 76 is his potential. He's kind of our Norris Sullivan of the infield then. He might be a starting caliber player or bench player, but his starting overall and his potential are really close together. So could Galvin have a future at third base? Possibly coming off the bench. And I still think he could be a useful player, but it's probably not the best use of a first rounder. We got unlucky there on scouted potential. But Rolando Benitez was the next pick. 53 overall, A potential. What I think we have here, by the way, as I just quickly look into this, I think we have a lot of players that make the most sense to be traded. If we continue to be more of a win now team, we have probably more value in doing trades, if those are necessary, than waiting for guys to develop by year 8. But anyway, Rolando Benitez is a starting pitcher who already has an impressive K per 9 for an 18-year-old player. But with lower stamina, it's going to be harder for him to actually make it as a starter, and I could see him more so turning into a reliever. And if his strikeout numbers are great, then maybe a late inning guy. Jesus Fernandez, I passed on him in the first, but had a chance to take him later. And I'm pretty happy that I did, because his contact is solid. His powers are not. Offensively, I'm reminded a little bit of Victor Scott with the contact and power. Now, Fernandez doesn't have that kind of speed, but he does have some speed. I think with Fernandez, you just develop the defense as much as possible and hope that he can be a high on base and contact guy. He already has good vision, discipline, clutch. So his future isn't as bleak as I made it out to be during the draft. Catcher Brian Kovalenko is 22, and that's not great for a guy who's only 52 overall. He may have good potential, but I think that we're understanding that there's more than just potential. What age are you going to reach? MLB playability. Do you actually have a path to realizing that potential? Because the game is not going to drag you up to a 90 overall or whatever your potential may be. You've got to work your way there. And Kovalenko has a lot of work to do with less time than others, having 4 years in college. Andres Sanchez was the final pick. He is a 52 overall switch-hitting left fielder. All of these players are likely single-A players, maybe a couple creep into double-A next year. Galvin, he doesn't have to play at single-A, and I think Fernandez could play, but I don't see this class actually contributing a lot to the series outside of maybe trading for players that will. Things could have been different if I had gotten one of my 2 preferred players early on. Wow, Padres dropped the ball on their top 2 picks. We didn't take a 61 potential catcher in the first round. Fred Dodson. A lot of you said he might be generational. Am I thinking of the right player? He's just a high C, high starting point, but close to potential player, similar to who we did take in the first round. Rolando Calderon, 71 overall, 94 potential. Congratulations to the Blue Jays, you nailed that pick. James Capiello was the number 1 selection, by the way, of the White Sox, and they took a pitcher who has a chance to become their ace. Imagine Capiello with Garrett Crochet and maybe Tekoa Roby, and the White Sox can maybe get something going. Leslie Fisher, 69 overall with an 87 potential. That is really who we wanted with the uncertainty about the future at third base. Fisher getting a chance to develop cleanly next year. No expectations until maybe the year after. Man, that would have been the dream. Albert Yokoyama was the number 2 ranked player and only has a 75 potential with a 19 home run per 9. Very bad break there for the Oakland Athletics. This class kind of seems a bit mediocre. We're not seeing a lot of, Keith Corona, we don't know how good he is because the Mets couldn't sign him. But the potentials are not wowing me. Jose Chavez, how about 96 on a closer? Wow. I have a feeling we're going to get to meet him in this series. Brewers did a pretty good job taking Logan Lewis and then Eli Nieves. He's their big pickup. That's very strong clutch and contact numbers right away. Very nice pick. The Pirates took Buddy Fitzgerald. So our rivals all took good players. It's the teams we're not going to see that screwed it up mostly. But hey, I think the single A and double A teams for us just got a whole lot better for next year. Oh wow, it looks like it was a rough month for Benny Matsumoto. I thought about calling him up, but he'll probably stay at double A the entire year. I'm pretty happy with the state of the franchise and the organization right now. The last thing I want to share with you before I end today's episode is the progress for all of my draft picks in this series. So, since the A's franchise, I have kept a spreadsheet where I can keep track of every pick I've made, their starting potential and overall, and this allows me to see how much better they've gotten since being drafted. The rightmost column is the difference between their starting overall and their current overall. So as you can see, Benny Matsumoto, already gaining 9 overall, is the fastest riser out of any draft pick. And he's the number 1 prospect in this organization. Steve Castilla's up 6. And then there's not a whole lot happening yet for year 2. It's still a relatively young series. But I like keeping track of this and just seeing how things change from time to time. Looking at the top 20 in the organization, I have had a hand in adding the top 8 players, whether that's been through drafting or trades. And I'm excited about a lot of the talent here. Last episode, we got to see Steve Padilla and Daryl Marino. Those are 2 guys I think that will be helping us in this franchise. Marino, maybe sooner than later, given how quickly or how developed he was and bringing him in right away. But that is going to do it for today, everybody. Very big episode in the Cardinals franchise. We made our biggest trade so far, and now we're looking to hold on to this division and try to have a strong playoff showing. Leave your thoughts down below in the comment section. Please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I will catch you all next time in the Cardinals franchise. Have a great day.